10:32. Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to have you here.
Today is January
19th.
19th,
Yeah,
2025.
we're here for you, but we're not oriented.
And our topic today is see something, say something.
Yes, and we know what that normally means, which is keep your eyes open for what's wrong. And what we're saying today is, and I want to start off with that, keep your eyes open for what's good, for what's right, for what works, for what you feel good about, and give it a voice.
Or pay attention to your own thoughts. Even if you're having emotions that you're not happy with, take it back and say, what was I just thinking? Because that will tell you why you're feeling in
Mhm.
some sad or angry or negative way. So the idea is when you see something in your mind or something in your life that's not happy, go back to see what you're thinking and say something different.
It reminds me of a short story. I was walking down the street many years ago before I was married to Judith, and life became almost amazingly magnificent. And I was feeling good, and all of a sudden I had this wave of sadness come over me, and I thought, "What is this?" And I backed up. I stopped, and I backed up, and I had just passed a storefront, which is no big deal. The door was open, and the song that was being played was a song that I had been in love to before the breakup.
Mm.
And why I'm sharing that with you is it got my unconscious and then affected my mood. And I didn't realize that it was having that. I didn't even know what was going on. We are very sensitive to the environment that we have, and many of our feelings come from everything from the smell in the air to the temperature of the air. And when that happens, what's really important for us is to look at that and say, I wonder where that's coming from rather than to react to it like and make a story up about maybe it's a bad day.
Why I'm so sad or
Yeah,
why I'm so
yeah.
down. Yes, exactly. And well, before we get further into that topic about, you know, how we're thinking and feeling, I have to share a really interesting true story with you. I don't know about you, but I've become fascinated with AI, for example, with Chat GPT. And they keep changing this app, so I don't know if I could even work it the way it's changing. But I've done some really, not me, but the app has done some fantastic things for me when I just give it just tell it to do something, and boy, it can does it like that. Write a letter about such and such. If you give it the facts, it'll write a letter like that. But I've got to tell you a fascinating way it's being used with religion. This is a true story. And this topic is called AI Jesus. And a church in Switzerland. It says that religious people have been trying to figure out if there's any use for AI in promoting and helping people with the teaching. And so a Catholic church in Switzerland, has a novel approach to the issue. Researchers released the findings from a 2-month experiment at the church where an avatar of Jesus was tucked into a confessional. In other words, a machine. It took questions from visitors on faith, morality, and modern day woes, and then offered responses based on scripture. After 2 months of this, the run of what they call the Deus in Machina, or God in a machine, exhibit at Peter's Chapel, some 900 conversations from visitors were transcribed anonymously. Those behind the project said it was largely a success. Visitors often came out of the confessional moved or deep in thought and found it easy to use. So remember, they got responses based on scripture. So there was quoting scripture to give them answers to their problems. So I think this is fascinating, a fascinating use, because I've been a Catholic and I know that those priests do not have time to do that kind of counseling in the confessional. All they do is tell you how many prayers to say for forgiveness of your sins and then forgive you. So this is really quite an improvement, and I think a fantastic positive use of AI,
So is it possible?
artificial intelligence.
So is it possible that the next Pope will be an AI?
He'd probably be healthier.
What I think is fascinating about that is, for me, is that AI is surveying the bigger picture. AI is surveying more data, more information that we call valuable that we can't normally on a day-to-day basis access. We don't have time for it, or we don't have the wherewithal to be able to do it. And that takes me to our topic today, which is often when we see the bad or we see what's wrong or we see what needs to be spoken to that isn't good, we don't have the bigger picture. We're not looking at all of the information that, if it were available, would show us that maybe what is happening is not for our bad, but for our good. Maybe the world or the universe is not just made up of problems to solve. And the crux of what we're talking about today is that we're problem solvers. We're built to be problem solvers, and the reason that we're built to be problem solvers is because if a problem gets ahead of us and we don't solve it, we could perish. And so that's the unconscious machinery going on in the background. The problem is that we give so much attention to that that we hear things like when I say, "How are you?" say, "So far, so good." And when I say,
Knock on wood.
right, knock on wood, we have a lot of statements that say, "I don't know yet, but I'm looking for what's wrong." I'll say something when I see something that's wrong rather than I'll say something when I see something that's good. I'll pay attention to, I'll give it a voice. We don't give a voice to a lot of the good that's occurring in our world. We don't give a voice to a lot of the positive things that we're seeing. And by not giving a voice to them, we're saying, yes, I see it, but it's not that important. What's important is to look for the bad, to look for what to worry about.
Mhm.
And that's so important because as when we meditate,
Survival, it's a survival.
yeah,
Um,
it's a strategy for survival. But the problem with that is when we meditate, we very often have a hard time with the meditating process because we can't get past what is it that I need to solve next. And even in my meditation sometimes and in my prayer, I will often say, okay, you got to help me with this first. Before we go anywhere else, I need help with this. As opposed to the universe is designed to work and it is working and it's working for me, not against me.
mhm.
And so I think that's really, really a critical thing, particularly now with political changes that are occurring, with a worldview that may not match the view that many of us have had, with conditions where it's easy for us to project into the future the worst possibility. But for us to be able to say, maybe I need to stop looking for the worst and start celebrating the best, which doesn't mean I am, what do we say it? uh, Always being happy or I can,
Eternal optimist.
yeah, well, you're overly optimistic, you're overly, oh, there's a term for it, but and what I want to be able to do is to say, yes, there's a lot going on that does not appear to be for my good. I need to see this thing through. And there's a lot that's going on that I see that is appearing for my good, and I need to give it my attention, and I need to give my intention to seeing even more of that.
Right. Because sometimes we can solve our problems, but sometimes we need a new idea. And so I want to read a couple of quotes from Ernest Holmes, our founder. Um,
By the way, I love reading his material. If you haven't
I
been reading
know
his
it's
material
so good.
recently, pull out one of his books. I always feel like he's speaking to my heart and my mind rather than one or the other.
Right. This is from a book called Help for Today. And he says, Spirit, which is the creative life principle, and that's all in capital letters, so it's referring to God, is forever flowing ideas through us. But we have been given the power or right to impede or stop its progress in ourselves. We can tie a cord tightly around our arm and so inhibit the circulation of blood that congestion, stagnation, and infection will follow. In a like manner, through our thinking processes, our ideas and convictions, we use the tourniquets of negative thoughts and block the flow of creative life through us.
Mhm.
And what I have noticed is that when all I want to do is think about my problems, as I did when I hurt my shoulder, I just get more misery,
Yeah.
so I can impede positive ideas coming in if I insist on thinking negatively. But he goes on, this is from This Thing Called Life. It's another book. He says, how necessary it is not to attach our problems to divine mind, but to unite the divine mind with the answer to the problem. This means that we rearrange our thinking in such a way that we permit new ideas to flow in. The ideas, fears, and tensions that obstructed this flow are released. The stream flows free again. God is the answer to every human problem.
Imagine that the caterpillar said, I have to build some place to hide. Or the caterpillar said, I have to build a temple.
Mm.
What if the caterpillar said, oh my God, I'm dissolving? Or the caterpillar said, what is in my past and who I have been is making room for a new me and emerges as something new. What we tend to do is we walk around saying, I'm dissolving, I need a place to hide, rather than I need to look at the world as a place for breakthroughs rather than breakdowns. And what I've been sharing with a lot of the clients I work with is that every breakdown is the edge of a breakthrough. It's a place for you to be able to see who you are in a way you haven't seen before and be able to embrace that. And so we're really talking about embracing every conversation you have that says yes and saying, oh, there's a lot of no's that I've allowed to intrude into my life so profoundly that I feel like a big no wanting to have a yes.
Exactly. See, the way I perceive this is were we are a part of all that is. We can't be disconnected from it, but we can think ourselves out of it. In other words, if we believe we're separate, that there is no God, there is no help, if I've got to solve all my problems, that's the way it's going to be. Or you can be open to ideas because we're always
Yeah.
connected with the divine. So of course we'll always get ideas from it if we allow it, recognize it, and act on it, frankly, because we often get ideas and then go right back to our solving our own problems as best we can and not acting on some of those great ideas we get.
Yes.
But they're there for us.
Werner Erhard said, and I love this, one of the best things I think he ever said, he said, every time you have a great idea, something so worthwhile that you cannot wait to begin moving in that direction, the first thing that will show up are all the problems that have to be solved. What happens for a lot of us, a lot of the time, it happens for me, is the first problem to me becomes, oh, I knew I shouldn't have started this. I knew this isn't going to work. I should know better than to do this. And unfortunately, that really gets in the way of our task, which is, oh, okay, this is the first obstacle I need to overcome. The first thing you do when you want to go for a long ride in the car is you don't get in the car and just drive it. You say, I got to get gas. The first problem to be solved is making sure you have enough gas for the trip. You don't say, the tank is empty or half empty. I just don't think we can do this. It's a sign. It's a sign that I shouldn't be on the road because I need to get gas. No, actually, it's the first problem to solve. And I'll put air in the tires. Oh my God, what if we have a put air in the tires? Make sure you got a spare. The problems you have to solve are the things that are going to open the door for the greatest opportunity rather than signs that things aren't good. We look for positive signs, but we really listen to the negative ones.
And oftentimes we're so busy with our self chatter, the monkey mind. That's why meditation is
Yeah.
recommended, because at least you're trying during those quiet times to still all that chatter. Then you can hear positive, constructive ideas that you wouldn't hear when you're so busy doing the self talk and talk about what you need to do next or what you perceive as the next problem. Because these positive ideas are always flowing. They're flowing to you, but you have to still your own inner
Yeah.
chatter to allow them.
So if we go a little deeper, what we need to be able to say to ourselves, and these are some very simple things that are very powerful and very deep, I am enough. I am sufficient for this task of living. I can do this and I don't have to do it alone. In fact, I'm not alone. Recently, I was doing some prayer work and I was trying to connect with, trying, I say, I don't think there's any problem connecting, but I have trouble sometimes in my head actually thinking I am connected to anything other than me. And I'm trying to connect with an angelic intelligence that is greater than me. And I said to myself, how do I know that this angelic intelligence can actually connect with me? What happened is my monkey mind jumps right in and immediately and says, what makes you think you're so special that you can actually in prayer connect with an angelic intelligence? And the answer came back very quickly. And what I saw was a fiber optics cable, and the fiber optics cable communicated to me. This little cable can communicate 1,000 messages in a second. It can connect with people all over the world. And I thought, oh my God, why have I been thinking in the technology that I grew up with and asking for a technology that's far greater than that to operate through me? What if, in fact, we actually really all are connected and in conversation with each other, and all we need to do is to define the parameters that we want to pursue and head in the direction that is for our good? What if, in fact, we're actually moving together with a universe that's in favor of us, like a fiber optics cable that can connect all of us? Wow. What happens then? It takes me out of having to figure it out and living in my small figuring.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I can figure myself out of almost everything that's good by virtue of my small-mindedness and my limited understanding.
I want to give an example of, when we think we have things all figured out. So I recently downloaded this Chat GPT and it helped me write a beautiful letter that got me refunded $800 of an airline ticket that they said had expired, my use of it. And so I was really thrilled with that, but then I couldn't think of anything else to use it for. Bob has been asking me for years, how do you suppose I could get my book, The Diary of a Mindful Dog? How could I get that book to Oprah? And I said, I have no idea. She's very private. I don't know how to get it to Oprah. I've said that for years.
Mhm. And I listened,
And you've listened.
and I have believed you.
And so I asked that to AI. How do I get a book to Oprah? And boom, I got back an answer with O Magazine's address, the name of the editor for the books, an email address, and the physical address. And I go, wow, that was fast and easy. And so we wrote a letter, and in checking with AI again, we found out, uh-oh, who who AI said was the editor is no longer the editor. But you know what? That doesn't matter. We have the address. We have to rewrite a few things. But this is a way to connect. This is a way to get answers. It's a fabulous tool. I really encourage people to use it.
But what you did was you asked the impossible question. We don't ask the impossible question because we've already got the impossible answer.
Mm.
And we believe in the impossibility rather than underneath all of this. When I've said to you, Judith, how do we do this? Has been the gnawing feeling that it's not really doable. And although I know better in consciousness, I don't necessarily know better. And so what happens when you opened up to AI, which you said, and you could say it another way, how do I open up to infinite intelligence? II. And
I
if
said
I go to
there.
II first, AI simply said, "Oh, you want this? We'll get it." They got it wrong, but we'll get it. We'll
A
get it.
little bit wrong.
Yeah. Well, so what if we said every time we got it, see, I can't told you we can't do it. Actually, all it did was it opened up the infinite intelligence keeps saying to you, there's still another way. There's a deeper, richer way. There's a fuller way to do things. In sharing your story, I was thinking about the books that uh, Haiku Heart, which is a series of books that one of our members and I have been creating that is really outstanding and magnificent. And she asked me, the co-author asked me regularly, so what have you done to try to promote it? And I'm thinking, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go with this.
We're
I
going to
don't,
ask AI for a
I
marketing
don't,
plan
yeah,
next.
I don't have addresses. I don't have phone numbers and I'm busy creating. I have been believing that maybe she could do it, but that I couldn't. And because I have been believing that and not realizing I've been believing that, I haven't been able to do it. I really haven't been able to do it. But why would we ever want to do something we can't do? I'm having cards printed up. On one side is the Diary of a Mindful Dog. On the other side is a picture of the 8 of the books or 6 of the books we've done so far together that I'm going to be giving to people because giving them to people is one of the ways people can see what you're doing.
because they can be ordered on Amazon.com, and we went and looked, and it was easy to find
Yeah.
these haiku heart volumes.
Right. So what I've been saying to myself without even knowing it, because I never would say this if I knew what I was saying, is I don't know how to do this. I mean, this is going to be your and the co-author of this book has been doing extraordinary things to get this out. But since I changed my mind about it, we've already gotten an endorsement through my work. And we're
Yes,
going to get a lot more endorsements because the block turns out not to be that I don't know how, but that I believe in the I don't know how. And
exactly.
so, how many things in your life are you believing in that are the I don't know how? And that's going to be where we stop versus I don't know how. This is going to be interesting. This is going
Because
to be
it's so
exciting.
exciting to be
It
doing
is.
something new.
It
It
is.
really
I
is.
might even be able to retire before I'm 90.
Imagine.
Who knows? Yeah. But how many of us are working at jobs because we don't know how and we believe in the I don't know how, as opposed to what if infinite intelligence, I,
Knows how.
knows
Knows
how,
how.
and
Yeah.
AI can work with the I because they're just letters. And, and if the letters all get together and work on our paper, we can have a favorable outcome. We can have an extraordinary thing happen here. So I'm excited, but I'm excited to see that the problem isn't out there. The problem is in here.
Yes.
And I got to overcome it. And the problem
So
is,
when we see those limited beliefs, if we don't want to call them
yes,
negative, limited beliefs, we need to say something to
yes.
ourselves
I like what you're
that it's
saying too when you
possible.
say limited beliefs as is the problem rather than I can or I can't. And Ernest Holmes, more than anything else, is examining our beliefs and asking us to open up the door to a greater way of seeing. AI is
Exactly.
actually a perfect example. You ask AI a question, it's a 10-word question, a 20-word question, a 50-word question, but it's limited to those 50 words. And AI opens up a word file of 1 billion words and says which of these are going to apply. Doesn't have a prejudice, doesn't have a belief that it will work. It almost operates like infinite intelligence, which is really, really important. But we're going to have to
Only
start,
it's written down.
right? Yeah, we're going to have to start saying infinite intelligence working through me can do anything and mean it rather than I said it, nothing happened. Well, I said it and I didn't believe it. And so we're opening up the door to a whole lot more than we've ever opened the door to. And there's a whole lot more that wants to come in. Make the door a little bigger, make the doorway bigger. Like give yourself permission to have an extraordinary vision and know that infinite intelligence, maybe working with artificial intelligence instead of superficial intelligence, can transform your experience.
Indeed. And so with that, I think it is time for us to
This is fun today.
do our screen share. It was fun. Let's see. Where is our screen share here? Share, it says. I want to share. It's time for our celebration of sharing.
And I want to give a special thanks to the people that have been
Ah,
no,
ah, I'll go back to share again.
no. Just get this out of the way.
Well, I don't think you can turn it off. Okay,
There you go.
there we go. All right, thank you.
So I want to give a special thanks to the people that have been contributing. We got a check the other day for a significant amount of money, and it really, really helps because we believe that this is a teaching that needs to be big in as many ways as possible because people are so hungry for what we've been sharing that your support in a bigger way really helps that to happen. And so I want to say thank you to those of you that have sending in the support that you've been sending. It just makes such a difference. It makes it possible for us not to think about how are we going to do this, but rather what are we going to do?
Exactly. So we like to say this affirmation because it is the law of circulation, and giving opens up the flow for us to receive. So we say below the offertory
And
affirmation.
I'm going to change this a little bit.
Okay.
My investment in divine intelligence, my investment in the good that is possible, my investment today is made with the full realization that this is more than I have ever imagined or could imagine, that God is the source of my supply. And God is that divine intelligence operating through me in every single moment of my day, in every single moment of my life, and returns to me enriched and multiplied the quality and character of my giving and of who I really am. And for this, I am infinitely grateful. And for this, I say thank you.
And
And
so
so,
it
yeah.
is.
We're going to sign off on the recording part now.
Right here, right?
Yeah, and
I
recording.
had it, Bob.
There we go.